All right, Shalom Israel with Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We're not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is touch bases on the alphabet. The alphabet is something very, very important. Very important. Okay, very important. In order to understand anything, all right, you got to know that alphabet in Hebrew. All right. So this is the Lashawan Qadash class. Remember, the Hebrew language is our language. It's a part of our custom. It's a part of our culture. Like these are things that we cannot take lightly on. Okay. And so the best way to learn this language, Salakia, the best way to learn this language, all right, is all right, is for starting from the alphabet. All right. So the first letter we got here is your I. You got your I in the Syrian, and you got your I in the ancient. Next is your Ba. You have your Ba in the Syrian, then you have your Ba in the ancient. Next is you have your Ga. You have your Ga in the Syrian, then you have your Ga in the ancient. Next is your Da. You have your Da in the Syrian, then you have the Da in the ancient. Next is your Ha. You have your Ha in the Syrian, then you have your Ha in the ancient. This is your Y. You have your Y in the Syrian, and you have your Y in the ancient. This is your Za. You have your Za in the Syrian, you have your Za in the ancient. Next is your Kha. All right. Everybody check it. Most on Christ. I'm Nate and Kenny. Khan. Shalom, Yahweh Thumb, by the way, to the brothers. And Shalom, Yahweh Shemal, Bashim, Yahweh to the sisters. And this is your Kha. You have your Kha in the Syrian, and you have your Kha in the ancient. Next is your Ta. You have your Ta in the Syrian, then you have your Ta in the ancient. Next is your Ya. You have your Ya in the Syrian, then you have your Ya in the ancient. This is your Ka. You have your Ka in the Syrian, then you have your Ka in the ancient. Remember to focus on this right here too as well. All right, y'all see where that arrow is pointing to in the Syrian script? Look out for those type of things. All right. You got your La. You got your La in the Syrian, then you got your La in the ancient. Next, you have your Ma. You have your Ma in the Syrian, then you have your Ma in the ancient. Next is your Na. You have your Na in the Syrian, then you have your Na in the ancient. Next is you have your Sa. You have your Sa in the Syrian. Then you have your Sa in the ancient. Next is you have your I. You have your I in the Syrian. You have your I in the ancient. Next is your Pa. You have your Pa in the Syrian. Then you have your Pa in the ancient. Next you have your Taza. You have your Taza in the Syrian. You have your Taza in the ancient. Next you have your Kwa. You have your Kwa in the Syrian. You have your Kwa in the ancient. Next is you have your Ra. You have your Ra in the Syrian. Then you have your Ra in the ancient. Next is you have your Shah. You have your Shah in the Syrian. Then you have your Shah in the ancient. And next is you have your Tha. You have your Tha in the Syrian. Then you have your Tha in the ancient. All right. All right. So we're going to pick up where we left off, but we're going to use a new we're going to use a new pronoun. All right. And then we're going to use a new verb. All right. But before that, let's do some erasing. All right. All right. Now let's see. So now we're going to choose a new verb. All right. Let's see which one we should do. Let's do kathab. We'll do kathab meaning to write. I believe kathab also means kathab should also mean to read as well. But I gotta look that up. All right. Well, we've been using blue lately. So we're gonna get kathab. All right. So you have kathab. All right. So kathab meaning to write. So now remember, if everybody remembers, all right, what's the when it comes to conjugations, because we're working on conjugations, so we're going to be doing the future, the present, the past, and the future. Can anybody tell me the most important part of being able to conjugate a verb? What do you need to know? What has to happen first when it comes to conjugating verbs? Does anybody remember? Here we go. All right. So now remember, when it comes to conjugating verbs, all right, you want to uh, you want to remember that you need to know your subject pronoun. All right. Everything is based off of your subject pronoun. If you do not know your subject pronoun, then you're not going to know how to be able to conjugate the verb. So the verb that we're using in tonight's class is kathab. Kathab meaning to write. The subject pronoun we're going to be basing off the conjugations off of is hawa'a. All right. So you got three main conjugations, which is based off of your tenses. You have your future tense, you have your present tense, and you have your past tense. So present, past, future, present, past, future. Those are your three tenses. And so when you're speaking a language, all right, speaking in the proper tense is very important, all right? You want to make sure you know whoever you're talking to, you're talking into the past. If you're talking in the past or about the past, make sure you say the present tense, all right? If you're talking about something presently, you want to make sure you talk about in the present tense and so far and so forth dealing with the future tense. All right. And so what we're going to do in tonight's class is we're going to make sure we know all the conjugations, all right, all the conjugations based off of the subject pronoun hawa, which means he. Hawa means he. So keep that in mind. So all right. So the first conjugation we have on the board. All right. So you have the verb kathab. Remember, all conjugations are based off of your subject pronoun. All right. Everything is based off of your subject pronoun. So the subject pronoun we have here is hawa. All right. You want to make sure you guys know your pronouns. All right. There's different kind of pronouns, but in particular subject pronouns. All right. Now this is pretty much the basics of structuring sentences. All right. So you have your hawa meaning your he. All right. So the verb we have is kathab. All right. If you want to conjugate, all right, the verb kathab in Hebrew is kawathab. All right. Kawathab meaning he is writing, he writes. Kawathab. Kawathab. All right. Kawathab. All right. Kawathab. Give me 1 second. Salaki. 1 second. Kawathab. All right. Salaki. So you have kawathab. All right. So kawathab is how you would say he is writing or he writes. All right. He is writing or he writes. So kathab. This is how you conjugate the word kathab, meaning to write within the Hebrew. All right. Kathab is a very common verb throughout the Bible as well. You will see that word before. Now remember, now the reason why I have it set up the way that I do, all right, you see how the conjugation is in red. So the subject pronoun is in red, and the conjugation itself, that letter is in red because I want to show you the difference, all right, within the word itself. So you have the root word. The root word is kathab. You have your ka, your tha, and then your ba. That's the root word, right? Kathab is the root word. When you're conjugating a verb, you're really making a change to the verb so people know that this is whatever tense that you're speaking in. So when I see a wa or hear a wa between a letter, in the back of my head, I'm notating that, okay, this may be being spoken in the present tense. Eventually, all of this is going to become second nature. The more you speak a language, the more you talk the language, the more you write the language, the more you speak the language, etc., etc. All of this is just going to become, all of this is just going to become second nature. All right. what would it sound like in the past tense? We're going to get that next. Good question. So we're going to get that next. So we're going to get the past, the future. All right. The so far this is the present. We're going to get the past and the future. So that's a good question. How is it going to sound in the past? Like as in he wrote. Right. That's a good question. All right. So I'm gonna still put it up there so everybody can see, but just to let you know, in particular, when you're conjugating in the past tense based off of the subject pronoun hawa, I don't know if you guys remember me saying this, but technically nothing changes. Everything stays the same, but I'm gonna write it on the board anyway, so people know. All right. All right. So since I got on the board, the brother asked a good question. What would it sound like in the past tense? So it would just be kathab. Okay, it would just be kathab. So happily, right? You know, when it's in the past tense based on the subject pronoun hawa, you do not have to do anything to it. All right. So when you see when reading the Hebrew, you're going to see verbs that have not been conjugated before. All right, you're going to see verbs that have not been conjugated before. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it in the slightest. All right, because it may actually be conjugated, and you have two options, right? The verb could either be conjugated, or the verb is there's already a verb that has been conjugated, and it's the second verb in the sentence. You guys remember me telling y'all um, when you are creating sentences, only depending on what you're saying and how you're saying it, only one of the verbs have to be conjugated within that sentence. All right. If you have two verbs in a sentence, all right, most likely only one of those verbs are going to have to be conjugated. All right. But this is what it would be in the past tense. So you have the subject pronoun hawa, which means he. All right. The verb is kathab, meaning to write. Kathab, meaning he wrote. All right. So sometimes you'll see ya kathab, right? A ya in front of it. That may just mean he wrote. So if you see something like ya kathab, just like how you see ya dabar, well, ya amar. Let me give you an example. So you have now when you guys see in the screen, right? This Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9. And it says, Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amor. Right? So Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amor. Right? Which literally translates, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying. All right. And so now remember how I told you when there's two verbs in a sentence, right? Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amor. The two verbs are dabar and amar. Those are your two verbs. Dabar meaning to speak, amar meaning to say. Dabar meaning to speak, amar meaning to say. Well, your dabar Yahweh al mashallah amar, right? Now, technically, you see how it says, and the Lord spake, right? The Lord spake, right? If I'm not mistaken, spake should be past tense. An old way of saying past tense. Let me just double check that. You guys see that? Spake, archaic past of speak. All right. So it's in the past tense. So where you dabar Yahweh al mashallah amar. Does anybody now? Does anybody remember? All right. Does anybody? Let me see who can answer this. So you see this wa, right? Can anybody tell me what that wa means in front of this so far? You see where I'm pointing at? Can anybody tell me what does that wa mean? And where you dabar? Does anybody know what does that wa mean? Anybody want to give it a shot? What does that wa mean? Who remembers? Give Chupa Yagadar a hand. That is true. Wa yadabar. So that wa that's in front of the yadabar, right, means and. All right. So that wa in front of the wa yadabar and that yadabar, that wa yadabar, that wa means and. Now that ya in wa yadabar, all right, that ya in front of the bar. So wa yadabar. What does the ya mean within wa yadabar? That ya. All right, that ya. All right. What does ya mean? Okay, does anybody remember? Now, when it comes to structuring sentences, these are things that you need to pick up on. All right, what does that ya mean? That ya, that's in front of that dabar, what does that mean? Now, these are your Hebrew prefixes that I'm asking you. Because when you're creating sentences or when you're reading the Hebrew, you're going to want to pick out root words. Because those prefixes in front of Hebrew words and then on top of different kinds of conjugations, you're going to have a bunch of letters scattered everywhere. That's why you want to know the root word. The root word is the bar in this case. but you do want to understand, all right? You do want to take a look out and keep a look out for those words, all right? So, what you dabar? Can anybody tell me what does that ya mean in front of dabar? If you guys don't know, it's fine. Just let me know that you guys don't know, and I'll give it to y'all. And I'm going to show y'all what it means as well. Not if. It doesn't mean if. Not when. There is an actual word for if, by the way, and it's by the way. Means if. Sometimes you're not going to always see that. Okay. Sometimes the word if can be implied, by the way, true. Just let you know, Truba Yakadar. Sometimes in most cases, you will see the if being implied within the sentence, but there is an actual word for if, and it's all right, meaning if. And so I'll show y'all, all right. So that ya in front of the bar, let's go to it real quick. Let's go to our Hebrew prefixes. Now somebody tell me. Now somebody tell me, what does the ya in front of that the bar mean? Oh, no sweat, no sweat up, no sweat. Now you guys see what that ya means? Correct. He, right? He, right? Now if you look very closely, right? It says use in conjunction with verbs. You will only see this in conjunction with verbs. All right? You can't use this with nouns, can't use it with adverbs and adjectives. Mm-mm. It's used in conjunction with verbs and verbs alone. And here's why. So if ya means he, right? If that ya means he, so what ya the bar meaning speak, right? Meaning to speak. But now to let you know, of course, when we read in the English, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, the only reason why we know that this is in the past tense, how do we know that the bar is in the past tense? Every verb is to be conjugated, right? If we know the rule that every verb is to be conjugated in a past and present and future tense, and it'll never be by itself, how do we now know that the bar is conjugated in the past tense? Without looking at the English, how would we have known that the bar was conjugated in the past tense? How would we know? Can anybody tell me? How would we know? وَيَدَبَّرْ Yahweh al-Mashallah Amar. وَيَدَبَّرْ Yahweh al-Mashallah Amar. Alright, وَيَدَبَّرْ Yahweh al-Mashallah Amar. So وَيَدَبَّرْ, how do we know that the bar is in the past tense without even looking at the English? I'll let y'all know because nothing has happened to it. That's how you know that the bar is conjugated and within this sentence in the past tense because nothing changed. Nothing changed. The verb, the bar stayed the same. That's why when we go to the conjugations, right? That's why you see this right here. The subject pronoun is hawa, right? Now, of course, hawa meaning he. But because you can use ya as he, all right? This is it's that's still a subject pronoun, all right? But this is only used in conjunction with verbs, okay? And you will only see this done with the past tense. You'll never really see a ya being used in conjunction with another verb in the present or the future. Not saying that it can't be done, but you really won't see it. All right. So just keep in mind that this is mostly for the past tense anyway. Okay. Just keep that in mind. We mostly see it done in the past tense than the future and the present. So hawa'a, all right, the subject pronoun is that ya in wayadabar, all right? Ha, hawa'a, or he, that ya, all means the same, he, all right? But that dabar meaning to speak. But you see how nothing happened to the dabar? Same thing how nothing happened to kathab. It stayed the same, meaning he wrote. And so when it says wayadabar Yahweh, right? Wayadabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amar. All right. So you got Wayadabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amar, right? So once you see that, Wayadabar, that's how you know. And he spoke to Moses, saying. Now, of course, it's saying, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying. All right. You see how the Lord's name is right here? All right. That's just how it's set up. If you put Yahweh in the front, it would still mean the same thing. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, it would say the same thing. But of course, the Lord is a he, right? The Lord will always be in the masculine tense. So pretty much this is saying, and the Lord, he spoke unto Moses, saying, but that he is implied, so it doesn't have to be written. In our language and in most languages, all right, unlike English, subject pronouns don't technically have to be there in a sentence. All right. English is kind of the same way. All right, but not not as much as other languages. But subject pronouns are usually implied and not necessarily, you know, not necessarily used. All right. In the sentence, it's usually just implied. All right. So when it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, it's really saying, and the Lord. Well, you guys heard Alexa. I guess I was loud enough to say the Lord's name, and she gave us a breakdown. But now, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, all right, it's really saying, and the Lord, he spake unto Moses, saying, all right. But you guys get the point? And also another point, when we scroll down, when it says Waya Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amor, you see how the bar is conjugated technically, but you see how Allah Amar, all right, when you look at it, saying in the English, right? So if I highlight this saying, what tense is that in? What tense? What tense is saying in? All right. Give Chuba Yagadar a hand. It's in the present tense. That saying is in the present tense, right? But now if we go down, give Sister Anna a hand too as well. It's in the present tense. But if we go down, you see La Amar, right? Now, let me see if I can highlight this without clicking on it. So you guys see that La Amar. Now Amar means to say in the Hebrew. But now, let me ask this. Is that Amar conjugated in the present tense? Khan or La'a? Yes or no? Is that Amar in the Hebrew? Is that conjugated in the present tense? Khan or La'a? Okay, Khan. Well, actually, La'a is not conjugated, right? It's not conjugated in the present tense. It's not conjugated at all, right? So how would we conjugate that, right? Well, the la meaning two, right? That la amar is meaning two. I believe the la is not technically a conjugation. I don't believe the la is a conjugation in that case. Let's see. I'm not sure. We can find out. I know la meaning a preposition. It's a preposition. I know that much, which means two, right? Right, Khan. So only one word, right, Khan. So only one word is conjugated technically. But that la amar, all right, that amar itself, that la in front of the amar is technically not a conjugation. We can't really call that a conjugation. But give me a second and let me be able to explain that more in detail. All right. All right, Khan. Okay, so like you about that up. Okay, so that so you, okay, I believe that la, all right, that la in the mar. I'm gonna have to get back, all right, but it's not a conjugation, all right. I have to go back into my notes. Preferably, I have to go back into my notes. But that la, All right, that la is just indicating. It's like an indicator, more so. All right, that love is more so an indicator. I want to be able to describe to you guys the exact indicator of what that love is, but it's not a conjugation. I don't want you guys to confuse anything between the la and that amor. All right, it's really just an indicator to indicate. It can indicate a lot. Okay, it can be used as a preposition. It can be used the actual to. It could be implying that this is for this person, whatever the case may be. But it's an indicator to let you know that that amar is really to indicate that that saying is for someone. And of course, we know that for someone is referring to Moses, and that's why it's not in, and that's why it's not conjugated. All right, that Amar is not conjugated for that reason. All right, so just to let you know that la is for sure it's not a conjugation. It's more so an indicator. All right, it's more so it's being used as it's being used as an indicator in this in this way. Just to let you know. All right, it's being used being used as an indicator. Does everybody understand that? Kana la. Let me know if you guys understand what I mean by that. Like that la amar, that la in front of the amar is not a conjugation. It's more so a indicator. It's indicating like that this verb is for someone. And of course, we know that Amar is speaking to who? Moses in this case. Everybody get that? Now, I'm glad that this came up. I'm glad this came up right now, actually. This is perfect. This is extremely perfect. So next, we're going to do the future tense. You guys are about to see exactly why I say you guys want to be able. Some things are just going to have to be taught. All right. Some things are just going to have to be taught, and some things gonna just you're just gonna have to remember these things that I'm saying to you. All right, and you want to be very careful, and you want to be able to get better at distinguishing things. All right, and here's why. I'm about to give you an example right here in the future tense. All right, so let's get the conjugation. Now, I'm glad that this popped up so you guys can be aware. Now, remember, now, you want to be able to tell the difference between a conjugation and a preposition in this case. So we just got finished going over that the letter ya in front of a verb, right, can mean he wrote, right? The preposition, right? That ya meaning he, all right? And it can be used in the past tense. But it can also be a conjugation in the future tense. All right? And here you go. Ya kathab. That ya kathab meaning he will write. All right? Now this is an actual conjugation. So you want to really look at the context of everything and what's truly being said. In this case, when reading it, you just want to be able to, over time, you're going to be able to figure it out. If something is talking about in the future or this is said in the past, all right, you will, you'll be able to use context clues to know what's being said, all right? It's going to have to use context clues in this case. So remember, you want to be able to find the root word. The root word in this case is kathab. Kathab meaning to write. Kathab meaning to write. Everything is based off of your subject pronoun. All right. Everything is based off of your subject pronoun. All right. The conjugation itself is putting a ya in front of kathab. So I brought everything. I brought this to y'all attention purposely so you guys can be aware of this. All right. I'm glad it came up the way it did because it's perfect. All right. Because remember when I told you Waya Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amar? All right, that Waya Dabar, that is conjugated in the past tense because nothing changed. But that Ya is just there to be used as a preposition. But if it said the same thing somewhere else, it may be easily, it may, that Ya could easily be there for a future tense conjugation. And of course, you're going to have to use context clues in order to figure that out and tell the difference. Does everybody understand? Does everybody pretty much get what I'm saying? Let me know if you understand or not. Let me know. Or do I need to explain it a little more? But in cases like this, these are things you're just going to, you're just going to have to know. Okay, Khan, that's fine. Okay, so in some cases, when I was breaking down the Waya Dabar, all right, so let's go back. So when we go back to Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9, that Waya Dabar, that Ya, all right, is just used as a preposition. All right. All right. So you see how it says what that's used as a preposition. Then you have Ya Dabar. That Ya Dabar itself is used to say, all right, to let you know that it's saying that the Lord spoke, meaning this is in the past tense. right? This is in the past tense. All right. If you go down here, it tells you Yadabar is the verb. It's in Peel. It even lets you know, all right, resultative, causative, or other kinds of verbal action depending on the context and the specific verb. Like context is everything. All right. Remember I was telling you context is everything. So you really want to figure out the I believe, of course, this is being spoken in third person. All right, third person form of a term refers to a person or thing other than the writer slash speaker and the person being addressed by the writer and speaker. All right. So to make sense of it, okay, the third person from select it. The third person form of a term refers to a person or thing other than the writer slash speaker and the person being addressed by the writer and speaker. All right. And so, for an example, Moses is writing, all right, is writing Leviticus. And so he's writing in third person because the Lord is speaking to him, right? The Lord is speaking to him, but he's taking note of everything the Lord is saying. And it said, well, Dabar Yahweh al Mashallah Amar. Technically, this was already said, saying, right? Let me see if I just close this real quick. And it says, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye be come into the land, right? When you read it into the English, this is something that's going to happen in the future, right? This is something that's going to happen in the future, all right? And so even though this happened in the past, and it already happened, but it's in third person, right? And it's talking about a future event, all right? It's referring to a future event of what needs to be said, all right? It's it's almost like you're gonna have to know what's the word I can use? What is it? Not that you need to know English, but you need to know how writing works. You kind of have to know how writing works. Okay, you need to know what first and second and third person is. So when you see that warrior the bar, right? That warrior the bar, that ya is that ya the bar meaning he spake or he spoke. All right, but in some cases, right, it can also mean that he will write or he will spoke or he will speak. Right. In this case, we use this example of katab, okay, meaning to write. But let's focus. So I'm gonna use the verb dabar so you understand. So waya dabar, yadabar can either mean he spoke, or yadabar can also mean he will speak. All right. Let me know if that makes sense to you now. So to make it kind of simple, yadabar can mean he spoke. It can also mean he will speak. The and it all depends on context. It just depends on context. All right. You understand? Let me know. Let me know if that helped you out, True. Okay, Most High in Christ. But all right, so with that, Israel, Shalom, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua brought the thumb to the brothers, and Shalom, Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'Shem Yahushua to the sisters. Shalom.